it's Jez here, and I am here with what I hope is going to be the last part of this journal. So all the pages are done, the pockets are made, the tags are done, so we just need to do the cover. So I've used 6 sheets of this Dainty Flowers DSP within this, and other bits of vintage books and tea-dyed paper, etc. Okay, so for the cover, because I've used the 6 sheets and I want to keep the other 6 sheets for another journal, I couldn't use one of the pages for the cover, so I've got another piece of 12 by 12 pattern paper. This is from the Favoured Flowers pack, which is also free during celebration with a £45 order, and it's fresh freezer on this side, and I have tea dyed it to have it in keeping with the rest of the journal. I've got, this is one of the big bits of card that comes with a pack of 12 by 12 paper, so it's quite thick, so I thought I'd use that, and I'd sandwich, this is 120 GSM, bit of tea dyed paper and the DSP, and I thought that will give us quite a nice robust cover. I've done it this sort of way before, so I've cut this in preparation, and of course I completely forgot what size I cut it to. So I've cut it to 10 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. So these pages are 8 inches tall, so 8.5 gives us 1/4 inch top and bottom. I'll tell you how I've scored it in a sec, but because I'm not going to trim this, I'm going to leave it as it is, which is the first time I've done that. So to allow it to come past that, and to allow for the wideness of it, I felt 10 inches was what was required of it. So it was just sort of like on a guesstimate, really. That's what I was doing. So I took my my card, and I scored it at 5. I scored it 1/2 inch either side, and then I went for the one in the middle. Well, actually I did that I did that first and remembered. So I went 5 in the middle, it's the halfway point, and then I went 1/4 inch either side, and then I remembered actually it's 1/2 inch either side that I go. So you don't need that extra 1/4 inch, you just need to score in the middle and then 1/2 inch either side, and that's your sort of faux spine. So you've got like a 1 inch spine there, really, but it's more soft. You might have seen me make one like this with my green winter journal. So I'm going to cut these down as well. Now this isn't tall enough because it's a sheet of A4, which is only 8 1/4, but doesn't matter, we'll get round it. So I'm going to cut it down so that it is 10 inches wide, so it's the right width, but it's not quite long enough top and bottom. But I thought I'm going to put pockets on the inside, so I wasn't actually too worried about it. And what I might do is fold this around. So obviously this is 12 by 12 paper, but it does shrink a little bit when you dye it. It's weird. So we've got 10 inches and I might do a 1/2 inch overlap either side, so I might go for 11 inches. And then the other way is 8.5, so I want to go to 9.5. So if we've got a little bit of the overlap, then it doesn't matter. I might trim a bit more off our coffee dyed paper as well, so that will get stuck down, and then we can have a 1/2 inch overlap, so it won't matter about this at all. So I might even cut a little bit off each side. Let's just have a little look to make it even. Let's get measuring. So it's like 1 centimetre or 1. It's not a nice easy number at all. It's not even 1 centimetre, it's less than that. So it's 1, 2, 3, this 5/16 is what it actually is. So I might just trim 5/16 off this side. So that's up to the 1/4 is 4, and just a little smidging over that. That will give us the same even border around. So we'll just have a wee frame around in this when it's folded over, and I think that will look good. Now, to make it easier when we are sticking it down, I will be scoring. So I'm going to score in the middle, so I'm going to use the fat end because it's paper. So 1/2 of 11 is 5.5, so we're going to go 5.5 down there, and then we're going to go to 5 and to 6. So that is just so the paper knows where to go. When it's stuck down. So I glue it all down and I leave it overnight so it proper welds together, so it's like you're using one piece of card. If you did it straight away, there'd be movement. So that's cool. So we'll do the same with this. So this is a weird measurement, so I'm gonna create that fold. I'm gonna put it there at the 6 inches so that I can do 1/2 inch either side. That's why I draw lines on my scoreboard. So that's all ready now to get glued down. It's just a little bit easier if you have got the score lines in there for putting them back in when it's glued. So that will go down there. Coolio. Right. So the first thing we want to do is glue this down. So I'm going to put glue on this side and then turn it round. Don't matter if I get a bit of glue on here. So I'm going to use a bit of glue stick just to make sure all the edges are completely covered, and then I'm going to use my colour, and I will probably sew around it as well, just to make sure it is fully covered. Now you don't have to do that, that's just my preference. And some people put like Tyvek on the spine to make sure it won't rip. And I think I might do that as well, just to make doubly certain it won't rip. Tyvek don't rip, it's what they use in construction industry. It's just like a paper. I know that some envelopes in the US that you get through the post are made out of Tyvek, so that's handy, you get it free. We don't in the UK, not that I know of, so I buy it. But you can buy, I've not bought it yet, and I will probably when I've run out of the A4 sheets that I've got. But when you go to like festivals or concerts or whatever, and they put those armbands on you, wristbands, that are like papery, well, they're made of Tyvek. That's why they don't rip off. And you can buy them in strips. I think you can get like 50 or 100 in for like $3.99 or something. So, and they're like 1-inch strips, so that's really handy for putting down the spine actually. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a spread on there. I managed to pick up some gubbins. Really what I wanted to do. I think it's just some glue that was on there, so it's actually not a major issue. Right, so I am, because I've scored, I can line it up with the score lines and sort of judge it to be in the middle. So that I've got it straight. So it's another little help with the score line. There we go. So a good crease at the bottom. So I dyed this last night, and I've had it weighted under books overnight to flatten it. I wasn't over worried because I knew I was gluing it down, so I knew it would be all right. And I really like the way the tea stained on this, really making it look vintage. There we go. So that's quite nice. Right, so we want to turn it over. So I'm going to snip across each of the corners, but you snip away just a fraction from the corner, so you don't go directly across with your light scissors resting on that. You go across, so you've got like a gap there, and that means when it folds over, the corner's covered. Otherwise your corner would be exposed. So this wraps the corner. There we go. Chucking those, don't think we need them. Right, so now we can, where's my bone folder? Can't see it. There it is. So it's easier to do with chipboard because this is just thick card, but I kind of push it up against. Push it up against the card before I fold it over. Make sure we've got a nice edge, and that will give it a nice edge. Now there was a little bit of glue on that, so it has glued down slightly. So I don't want it to glue down just yet. I'm just making the crease. When I did my other journal, I used 300 GSM, bit of A4, but that would have just been 8 1/4 tall. I didn't think it was tall enough, so that's why I didn't want to use that this time. That's why I've used I've got oodles of these. I always keep them, and I do use them quite a lot. I make quite a lot of craft storage myself as well, and so I use it for that because it's just thicker. Right, so fold them over. So then when you fold over this way, use my bone folder to curl that over, and what you've got on the edge is it's covered over on that corner so that it's not exposed. So you've got a little bit there that you can see that goes over. So we just make sure it's gone that way a bit. Just gives you neater corners. So I'm now gonna go down the corners. So I'm gonna just go down with my glue stick. This is very cheap, inexpensive glue stick, which I've been using for 2 years. Well, not this stick, OVS, but this brand, and I quite like it. It has doubled in price since I first started using it. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I then want to go down with this. It used to be £3 something, nearly 4 for 12, and now it's £7 something, nearly 8. And you're like, all right, it's still not expensive, but I think, gosh, I know everything's going up, but when it's like doubles in price, it's a bit of a gulp. Actually, at least it hasn't quadrupled like with utility bills. Gas and electricity, that's ridiculous how much that's gone up. Anyway, don't get me started. Sitting here in a woolly hat. I do have my heating on, but Oh, there was green on there, but I've been out, so I haven't taken my hat off. Oh, it's marvellous, Jez. Oh well, we'll make that the bottom where we're going to put a pocket anyway, so most of it will probably get covered. There we go. So now we're going to glue this down on there to be the inside. You can see that green a bit, but as I say, I'm going to put a pocket there, so just checking I'm not going to get green on my cover. So, oh, I was going to put some tie back on, wasn't it? Let me get my tie back. So this is my tie back. It's the only pack I've ever bought. I've got 10 sheets in it. That's not quite long enough, is it? Take a bit off this one. So it's really, it looks quite fibrous. It's like, but you cannot tear it. It will not tear at all. So perfect for this type of thing. So I'm just going to put down the centre there. So I'm just going to cut myself about 1.5 inches there. To go up the spine. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to put fabric around the spine. If I'm going to put fabric around the spine, I don't usually bother because it's not going to rip. Fabric's not going to rip, but I haven't actually decided on this one. So I'm going to bring in a glue book for this. So I want to stick it down. So I'm putting that down the centre. Just going to snip a tiny bit off the end, just so it's not seen underneath that coffee paper. Just to be on the safe side. There. That'll be fine. Just thought about that afterwards. Because coffee paper, I've coffee dyed it so it was shrunk a little bit. There we go. So that's the spine, nicely reinforced. So now I'm going to put glue on this, just like we did before. Just going to put this around the edges. So I'm checking where I've scored the lines there. Where I've scored the lines there. And that should then have me straight. And then I can come out to the sides. There we go. Just going to get a clean bit of this with no green on and just go around the edges. So that was where I got a little bit of green on it. You hardly notice it. So that's my cover ready. It's already feeling really thick. So I'm leaving that to dry overnight, and I'll finish off tomorrow, although it'll be in a few minutes for you, well, seconds even. Okay, so that has nicely dried overnight, and you can hear how stiff it is. So I'm just going to put those school lines back in so that I can bend it. So I went down here at 5. I'm going to just move it slightly because that's it. I'm going down this 6 line so I can properly see. That's it. Because I just went a little bit wayward. So, and then 1/2 inch that way. And 1/2 inch that way. Getting those lines back in. So gonna just go gentle. Depending on your paper, it might crack. Don't find Stamping Up paper cracks, but I have found other paper does. So I might help it a bit by scoring this side as well. I know Valiums make mountains, and this is gonna be bent the other way, but I think that's helped a little bit. Now what I've found is if you don't leave your paper to properly fuse together, then you get a bit of movement at the end. I mean, I folded this over, but sometimes I've just stuck it to the edge, so to the edge, and you know, we've had a little bit of movement and it's not over happy, but it works by doing it, by leaving it properly. It's like you've got one piece of cardstock that you're doing. Now you can hear how stiff that is. So liking how that's looking. So that is pulling in scraps. So that is going to stick in there. That is perfect, I think. Perfect size there for it. So now I've got to think about what I'm going to do down the spine to decorate, and then something on the front, and I want to decide that. I want to because I think I'm going to sew around the edge, so I want to put whatever's on the spine on there first. So I'm going to decide that, and then I might as well form pockets on the inside of this as well. I usually put sort of pockets on there. I mean, I can use, I'm limited now with the scraps that I've got left, but I have got this, so I could make some pockets with this paper, and then it matches what's on the inside. So that is a possibility of sticking that across, so I can go round the whole outside with my sewing. So I might do that, and they'll make cool pockets. So I'm going to have a little bit of a think and go get something to eat, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so we're actually 2 days later. I've eaten lots. I thought I like to do something on the spine that goes over the front and the back, and I've got this great big piece of lace that I got in a charity shop, and I thought that would be nice going around it, and then we've got a bit on the front and a bit on the back, and quite like that, and I don't have to do anything else at the back. It's white, so it needed to be vintaged up, so I add some tea solution from when I tea dyed that, so I just dyed it with tea, and you can see the difference that makes. So very happy with that. It's lace, so it is I was getting all stuck up then. So I can put glue on these solid bits, and then my thoughts were I wanted a trim on it. So I've got this ribbon here, which I really like. I got a couple of spools of it when it was on clearance, and I just thought that would look nice down there, and I'll put a strip down the back as well. So that would be what the back looks like, which I think is quite a nice little back. And then the front needs a bit of decorating. So I had some thoughts about that, and the words thoughts I thought would go really nicely. And I had a bit of this left over to just sort of go underneath, and I thought, oh, that'll work. So I thought, shall I go simple or shall I try and put something behind? I tried quite a few things, and then what I came up with was this, which I did on one of the other tags. So this is the coffee dyed vellum, and so I just stamped the stamp on it, and I thought that that would look nice on it. That is what I thought I'd do, and I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to sew this. I'm not really sure. And my idea was for the inside with the scrap, which I can't see right now, of this leftover, was that I might sew it in a pocket and just put some of this ribbon on the top to decorate it. Thought that might be quite nice. And then I'm going to make a tag, and I think the finishing touches might be another video because this was getting quite long. So there we go. I'm going to put, so that was that nice frame that I used, which needs to go away before I forget. So let's stick this on. Now there is a wrong side and a right side. I think that's the right side. There we go. So I am going to use Fabitac to stick this on. Yeah. And I'm going to put glue on the bits that have got solid. So just give me glue chance to come down to the spout. Yeah, that's super. So I'm just going to go round the scallop edge, and then all the way along bits that are thick. And then when I stick the other ribbon on, that'll have glue going through, so that will hold it in place as well. So there we go. I'll carry on doing this, but a bit faster. Right, well, I hope that's got enough. And I'm gonna so I'm just laying it down, sticking down where the glue is, and any bit that's not sticking down I can, because I can see there's not enough there, so we can glue back in there. And those front bits seem to be glued down well. Like that. I do like that. It's pretty. So, and it's just, so there's a few bits here that need a bit more. Catch it down. And I'm thinking we need to make sure there's enough bits at the top edge that's stuck down. Stick a bit more on there. Yeah, I think we're good. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick that just the other side of the scallop, I think. Yeah. So let me trim off the length I need, and then we'll put glue. We'll put glue on the ribbon. I think that would be the easiest way. I don't think there's particularly a wrong and a right side for this. So this will add a little bit of more security, because it will go through the lace. It's straightish, isn't it? So I'm going to do the same on the back. At the moment, either side could be back or front. So there we go. So the intention was that was the back and that was the front. Now I'm just going to trim these ends. So I'm going to get my nice sharp scissors. And I'll have some lace for scrap. There we go. Yep. Always trim from the wrong side. Got that from sort of card making days. Well, card making days I still make cards. There we go. Yep, liking that. So then I'm going to glue this on. There, I think I've got more space that side than that side. Stick it down there and stick these down. And then we're ready for the signature sewing in. I do have a separate video on sewing in signatures, which I made so that I didn't have to do sewing in. But I know that there are people watching this video who have never made a journal, so I thought I'll do this as the whole process for them, to save them going searching for another video. I'm going to deliberately have this slightly up a bit, and it kind of covers a bit where it didn't stamp fully there, and that's because this isn't flat, because I coffee dyed it. It wrapped up a bit, but I'm liking that. could just do that if we wanted something much simpler, which I really like as well. And now I'm a little bit torn. I wish I could hear people giving me their opinions. Gonna go for that. Gonna go for that. So I'm going to use my bigger glue pot. I'm sort of following the lines on the paper. Now, I stamped this yesterday. When you stamp on vellum, you need to give it quite a while to properly dry. I do dab it a bit, I do blot it. But it does need a bit of time. So looking at that, I say because it's tea dyed and the underneath's tea dyed, it doesn't really matter about the fact that the glue is maybe a bit visible. I don't mind it anyway. If you do, then do something else. I know there are glues that you can use on vellum, but I often think you can still see it anyway. So, a bit like the glue drying, I mean the ink drying, the glue takes a bit as well. I'm just going to wiggle that a little bit. It didn't seem quite straight. There we go. And then we'll just stick that on. So that's my cover. So now I need to sew the signatures in. So here's everything we need to bind the book. Got some bulldog clips, got a little template, got an awl to make the holes, got my needles, got some waxed thread. Now this is quite bulky, so first thing I'm doing is going to take out all of the tags because it's harder to work with the tags in. So I'm just going to get them out. So they're all removed. I think I counted there was about 25 of them. You can see how thick that is, and now how much more manageable that is. I've took them out. I've got them in the order that they're in. So this is now much easier to deal with. So I'm just going through. All the pages are more or less the same height. You've just got this one page, couple of doilies and a paper bag that isn't. So that's our shorter page there. I'm just checking it's kind of equidistant top and bottom, which is where I want it. Doilies fine. I'm going to put that's going towards the top because this is my template. I want it caught in twice, so there's the holes. I'll explain the template in a minute. So they're all right. All right. Doily fine. And then it should be fine on the other side because, oh, I didn't take that out. I think that's fine. It's on the edge. Yeah, that's up there. A short page. It's in the same position. There we go. So that is where I want them. So that's the centre. So we want this to be there. We want equidistance, top and bottom. Just double check. It's all nice and flat. So I am just going to use bulldog clip at the top on one side, at the bottom on the other to hold it in place. And you can see the points at the point there, the points at the point at the top. And that's important because we want the stitches to go along this center point. Okay, So we've got that. I'm just going to move that down a tad. There we go. So your template, I think what I'll do is I'll make a template with you. So I'm just going to take a scrap of paper and I'm just going to cut a strip. I'll just do, don't really matter how long the strip is, just a strip. And I'm just going to cut it to 8 inches because the page is 8 inches tall. There we go. So that's the first bit. Then I'm going to fold it in half so that I've got a middle section. So that can go down the centre of my book. The next thing I want to do is find the centre this way. So that middle point there is where we're going to do our first hole, like that. So then what I do is I fold to there to find that centre point there, and then fold half again to give us our third hole. So I'll show you that again. Take the end to the centre, crease, and then fold up to that line to give us our other centre. So that would be where the holes are going to go. And I just want to have a look at the page that's not as tall, and I can see that it is gonna get those in, and the paper bag in its position is going to be caught in twice. And then I'll put this down the centre. I'll put a clip in there to hold that in place, and now I'm going to move that over a little bit. Oh, I'll put it on this side. Double checking that everything's in the place I want it to be. Going in there. And then at the bottom here, again, we've got it there where we want it to be. Put that there. Okay, cooking on gas now. Ready to make that first hole, which is always the scary bit. Get me all. Got there where that hole is, folding it as we push through. I can see it coming out there. Right on the fold, which is where I wanted it to be. Marvellous. There we go. So that's through there. So now I pull it out, going at the top where the top hole is, doing exactly the same. Fold it over and push it through to come out there on the foldy bit where I want it. Push it through, and then do the same at the bottom. Line it up with the hole, fold it over, check where we want it, push it through, and there it is, coming out exactly where we want it. Okay, so now I'm going to remove these clips here so I can take the template away. I'm going to pull that out, but put it back in just to hold it in place. There we go. So I've got my holes. So now I need my thread. So I'm using wax thread here, and the rule of thumb is 3 times your height. 2, 3, and then snip it off. And then I've got needles in here of varying sizes. I go for the sort of middly one, and then I get my glasses and thread my needle. Do have a needle threader as well, but I'm usually pretty all right. Clearly not today. So needle threader, pop through, pop through. Ah, that was a really good needle threader, that. I've just broke it. I think this one came out of a cracker. Okay, chuck that. Mind you, I just thought, I've chucked that, I might fish it out, because that little silver bit, I think would be quite a cool thing to stick on something. There we go. Right, so put your needle through that centre hole you've just made. It just slips through beautifully. You've got a channel there that you've made, and it slips through and comes out. Okay, leave the thread about just over, that's poking over the bottom, and then it doesn't matter if you go in the top or the bottom. I'm going to go in the bottom this time because I've got the awl stuck in the top. So then you're going to come from the back to the front, so find where the hole is that you've made. Glasses might help. So there, I can see it now, and that should just push beautifully through. Sometimes you might have to feed a few pages at a time if it's you know, sometimes it's a little bit harder, but that's gone through there nicely. And then we're going to go back through the center hole. Some people go up to the top. I like to do it this way, only because that was the first video I watched, and it was like, just the way I do it. Go back out. You've got to make sure you are going through the hole that's made and that you don't split the thread. Back out there, and then you can pull nice and tightly so that that is really tight there. Okay, and now we're going to come back in through this top one, so I'm going to remove the awl now. So go through there, and then we feel for the hole right through there, pull nice and tight. Take my glasses off now because they're a hindrance, and then feed this underneath that thread, and now I get rid of the needle, and then you want to make sure you've got one on one side and one on the other, so I'm just going to feed that back under there, I like this wax thread because it goes really well when you've tea dyed. Give it a nice pull. Take these off now so that it's not, because it can twist it a little bit. That is where I want it to be, beautifully on the crease there where I want it. Give a good tug to make sure it's nice and tight. And then we do left over right and right over left. So left over right, do a knot. Right over left, do another knot. So that is now secure. You can tie a bow, you can leave them dangling and add charms. I'm just going to do a bow, and that is that. So then you give it, as you give it a little bit of a fold with each page to make sure they're all where they're supposed to be. All sitting nice, sits nice and flat, which is what I like, because if you're working in it, writing in it, you want it to be flat. So I'm going to leave that there, and then I'll do one more video on the finishing touches, because I think this has been nearly an hour now. Yeah, so I'll bring you one more video with the finishing touches, putting a closure on there and adding the pockets and another sort of tag for the inside there. Okay, hope you're enjoying this. I hope that was easy to follow in the sewing in the signatures, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe.